guys, welcome back to my kitchen. I'm the Deglutenizer and I'm making homemade ice cream. This is a 2-day process, so tonight I'm going to make my flavor base and tomorrow I will churn the ice cream with the mix-ins. So I need to get started with my cream. And I'm starting my base with 2 cups of heavy whipping cream. To that, I'm adding 1 cup of whole milk. To that, I want to add a scant cup of sugar. That's just a bit less than a full cup. Next up, I want to add fruit preserves. Because I'm doing a strawberry mint basil flavor ice cream, I'm going to go ahead and use strawberry preserves. If I was making say vanilla or chocolate, then I would possibly use peach or apricot preserves instead, just that way it wouldn't color the base at all. So I'm adding 2 tablespoons of my preserves, and the key with the preserves is that it contains not only additional sugar, which is why I used the scant cup of sugar, but also it contains pectin, and pectin will help to interrupt the formation of the ice crystals in the churning stage of my ice cream. So it'll create smaller ice crystals, which will lead to a smoother, more velvety texture. And anytime you make anything sweet, you always want to add just a little bit of salt. So I'm going to add just a couple pinches. So for my herbs, I want to do 3 to 4 large leaves of basil and about 6 or 7 leaves of mint. I'm going to give these a quick rinse before adding it to my base. So I want to set my heat to about 3.5 out of 10. And I'm just going to stir occasionally with a whisk to incorporate my sugar and break up those chunks of preserves. Alright, so I'm just waiting on my base to come up to a very low simmer. Now you might have noticed I didn't add any vanilla or anything of that sort as far as flavorings go to my base. I like to have basically just a straight cream base whenever I'm doing 3 or more flavors. So I've got my strawberry, I've got my mint, and I've got my basil. I didn't want to add vanilla because that would be just too much. If I'm doing something simpler though, like a vanilla or chocolate, then what I'll do is I keep homemade vanilla sugar on hand. That's just sugar where I've scraped a vanilla bean out and added it to the sugar. So it's got little black bean specks already. If you do not have vanilla sugar on hand but want to add vanilla bean to your base, all you would need to do would be to scrape out your bean directly into your dairy and then just make sure to whisk it up so that the individual beans separate, since it's just a bunch of little black specks. Alright, my base is ready. Use a slotted spoon and remove the leaves from on top. And then I'm just going to pass my base through a strainer. Hey guys, it's the next day. My camera died last night, so I don't know exactly how much was captured, but I strained out my base of any of the extra solids, and it has been chilling and, more importantly, aging in the fridge overnight. So today's the day where I get to actually churn my ice cream. So stoked. So before I get started churning, I just wanted to let you guys know that there are 2 main styles of ice cream maker on the market these days. One has a gel core container that you actually put into the freezer and the gel will freeze, and then you put it into your ice cream maker and it spins the contents to churn the ice cream. What I don't like about those is that they're single use, so if I make, say, 3 different batches of base and want to spend the next day churning a whole bunch of different types of ice cream, I can't do it in that style. The style that I have is one that still uses ice and rock salt. So it has the larger bucket in which the ice and rock salt are layered, and then you take your container, fill it with your base, insert the dasher, and the dasher is pretty much the most important piece of this whole thing. It's what spins the dairy base and incorporates air as the ice crystals form. So the main thing that happens when you're churning ice cream is you're developing ice crystals and freezing the dairy product. And you want your ice crystals to be small. The smaller your ice crystals, the smoother the texture of your ice cream. The other thing is that you want to incorporate air, because again, that's going to fluff up your ice cream. Air is actually an ingredient in ice cream, the same way that it is in chocolate mousse, in meringue, in whipped cream. So air is super important in making ice cream. So that'll go in there, pop the lid on, and then finally this one comes with an electric motor. You can also get some old style ones where it's got a hand crank, but I would prefer to just, let it sit on the counter and do its thing without me having to get my arm workout in. So this one's real simple. All you do is you plug it in to turn it on and unplug it to turn it off. So what I'm going to do is, before I even worry about my ice cream base, I'm going to get my ice and rock salt layered into my big bucket. So I'm going to go ahead and put the container in, get my lid on, and I have here a bag of rock salt, and I have the entire ice drawer from the ice maker in my freezer. If you do not have an ice maker in your freezer, then go ahead and buy a bag of ice, because this will use up a lot of ice, especially if you're making multiple batches. You will need to drain out the extra water and add more ice throughout the process if you are making multiple batches. So when adding ice and rock salt, the directions on the bag say to layer the ice and the salt. So I like to alternate layers in thirds. So I filled up about a third of my bucket with ice and then did a layer of rock salt. And now I'm going back to ice. Now for my top layer of ice, I do not add extra salt because I need to open up the lid again to add my base, and I don't want to risk any of that falling into my ice cream mixture. So with this being a strawberry mint basil ice cream, then of course I'm going to need to incorporate some strawberries. So I'm just going to pulse this a few times until my strawberries have been broken down into decently sized, bite-sized chunks. So I have my ice cream maker, I have my base, and just in case a skin developed on top or if I missed any of the solids that were in here on my first strain, I'm going to strain this directly into my mixing container. And I'm going to dump in my strawberries, place on my lid, lock on my motor. Most ice cream probably takes about 30 minutes to churn to a saucer stage. But I'll check it in about 20 minutes just to see if it's freezing too quickly. There we go. So it's been about 20 minutes. I'm just going to take a quick peek at my ice cream. It's looking like it's pretty close to being done. So I'm going to grab a spoon and give it a taste. Mainly I'm just looking for the texture of the ice crystals that have formed in my ice cream. Okay. I think it needs a few more minutes. Basically, it should be at soft serve consistency, but it shouldn't immediately melt into cream again as soon as it hits my tongue. So, just needs a little more time. I'm also going to top off my larger bucket with a bit more salt and some more ice. So I'm going to let this spin about another 10 minutes or so. Alright, so my ice cream is ready. So now what I need to do is get it transferred into my freezer container as quickly as possible. So that way the ice crystals that I've worked so hard to develop do not start melting. So I'm going to work on getting the dasher cleaned as well as possible and as quickly as possible. So with my canister, I just want to make sure that there's no rock salt on the outside that could possibly fall into my container and ruin my ice cream. And I'm just going to push my ice cream down into my container. Try and get as much of that air out of the bottom as possible. So I'm just going to give this a few taps and get any of these empty spaces here filled. And into the freezer to set up firm. So here is my finished ice cream, all fixed up to look gorgeous in the thumbnail. And does it need all this extra stuff? No. However, to make a pretty picture, yeah, there's a lot of color theory and shapes and all that other stuff that you gotta consider when you are making art. As you can see from the ice cream that I scraped out, the texture is beautiful. Smooth, velvety, and I'm going to go ahead and throw this back in the freezer now so it stays that way. Alright, time to try my first bite now that it has firmed up into standard ice cream texture rather than the softer consistency that it has when it comes straight out of the ice cream maker. So good. So why make your own ice cream rather than just buying it from the store? There's a few different reasons. One is that you can control the temperature of your product at every stage. So from processing to actually churning your ice cream to putting it into the freezer, you get to control that. Store-bought ice cream, it comes out of the factory, velvety smooth and delightful, but then it's on and off of trucks, planes, trains, boats, and it's not always being immediately moved from freezer to freezer. There's times where it's going to be sitting out on the floor of a warehouse or even on the floor of your grocery store before it actually gets loaded into the grocery store's back freezer or the freezer aisle where you buy it. Also, if you buy it and then you have to run one or two more errands before you can get that ice cream into your freezer at home, that's a whole lot of time of that ice cream melting and refreezing, where it's going to create those bigger ice crystals that make your ice cream, hard and not velvety smooth and delicious. And trust me, once you've had homemade ice cream, you notice the difference. So now, if you wanted to make a little bit lower fat ice cream, then you could adjust the recipe. I wouldn't use any less than 1.5 cups of cream, and then increase your milk by the same amount. So I'd say 1.5 cups of cream, 1.5 cups of milk would be the most that you'd want to change the ratio in your 3 cups of dairy. Finally, the other thing with making homemade ice cream is that you get to control exactly what the ingredients are and what flavor profiles you want to build into your ice cream. So if I want a brownie chunk chocolate ice cream, I can whip up a batch of gluten-free brownies, make some chocolate ice cream base, and stir it all together. And then as I'm putting my soft serve into a container to harden up, I can even put in layers of fudge or caramel or something. So, definitely worth it to be able to make those flavors that I can normally only find the regular gluten-filled versions. So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoy making ice cream at home and experimenting with your own flavors. If you discover a mixture that you really like, make sure to leave a comment below and tell me what you made. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to give it a like, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, and for notifications anytime I upload a new video, make sure that you click the bell. That's it for today, and I'll see you guys next time on the Deglutenizer. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy my content, I hope you'll consider supporting me on Patreon for just $2 a month. Patrons receive early access to content, early announcements for upcoming projects, and much more. Help me grow by becoming a patron today.